Thanks for showing up to today's workshop, how to build unstoppable confidence to achieve your Everest-sized goals. You all know me, but for those that might be listening to the recording, my name is Scott from Peak Prosper. I'm joined today with my business partner, Mike Morelli, and we're stoked to just go into the what, the why, the how of all things confidence. And before we jump in, we did want to share with everybody our unstoppable confidence meditation that Mike put together. Mike will drop a link to that in the chat. And if you're listening to the recording, there will also be a link to this in the notes as well. So with that, Mike, you want to kick us off and just share a little bit about what confidence really is? What is the definition of confidence? Where is it rooted from? And just kick us off there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So yeah, really, if we just look at confidence and what it is, it's just a knowing, right? It's just a knowing of yourself and where you're moving forward. I think that a lot of the times when we think about confidence, we think about it in terms of like, we're always feeling this emotion. I mean, you can probably think of times in your life where you felt confidence. So when we say unstoppable confidence, we think that, oh, no matter what, I'm always feeling confident. It's not necessarily that. It's actually more of just a knowing per se, knowing that, hey, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to be able to overcome it, despite feeling fear, despite feeling some of the emotions that people say are negative, worry or tension. It's like, hey, I'm experiencing this thing, right? This emotion, but I know that ultimately I'm going to get what I want. So that's really how we're looking at confidence.
Brilliant. And Mike, we call this workshop how to build unstoppable confidence to achieve your Everest-sized goals. Can you put some context into what an Everest-sized goal is? I mean, that's something that I throw around all the time, but what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, when we say an Everest-sized goal, we're talking about something big, something transformative. Mount Everest is the tallest peak in the world. So when we look at some of our dreams and goals, like we talk about a big vision, that's why we call it the massively transformative vision in our program, but something that's really going to shift things for you. It's not necessarily like, hey, I've got this big goal. It's a goal that's actually going to require an internal shift, meaning you really have to change your way of thinking, your way of being, the way that you're really showing up in the world. So something that's ultimately going to challenge you. I mean, Scott, I think we kind of came up with that one after you did your Everest trek and recovered from your foot injury, right?
Yeah, that's kind of where the analogy was inspired by. And recently I've started watching a movie on Netflix called Return to Space, which is a documentary about Elon Musk. And boy, talk about somebody who takes on Everest-sized goals that are seemingly impossible, not just to himself, but to the world. I don't know how much everybody knows about Elon, but he sent the first rocket to orbit. He was the first private equity company to do so. And it took him 6 years to do that and over $100 million. He put all of his money, all of his energy, all of his resources into making this happen. And his rockets blew up 3 times before they made that happen over those 6 years. So talk about an Everest-sized goal. Mike, what does it mean when somebody says, I don't have confidence, or I feel like I have low self-confidence and my confidence is what's holding me back from turning my dreams into a reality?
What it really means at the deepest level is that you're just so identified with the negative emotions and thoughts that you are experiencing in your life that you've convinced yourself that this is the way that you are. So we experience things like fear, worry, tension, self-worth issues. We are so identified with a story that we have repeatedly told ourselves, and then we perceive that as the truth. And we experience these things in our life. Like, for example, if you're dealing with self-worth issues and someone says something to you like, something as simple as, oh, maybe I don't like your outfit, or you share some business goal or some dream, hey, I want to become a life coach, etc. And someone says, dude, are you serious? You take that so personally, and it reaffirms the story that you've been telling yourself. So really, and we're gonna jump into this big time, but really the ultimate problem that we're having is that there's such an identification with these emotions and thoughts that we've been experiencing. And so that's why we say things like, oh, I have low self-esteem, I have fear of this, I XYZ, right? I mean, I would get, the only reason I can say that with absolute confidence is because if I think back, Scott, and we'll jump into your story in a sec too, because our paths are so similar. But like when I had the foot injury, a couple of years ago, like my same person that you're seeing right here, right now, but all of those thoughts and fears just became so real for me, so vivid. And it's not that I don't experience the fear of failure, but my relationship to it is completely different. And it just goes to show so much of like, I can experience maybe the same thought that I dealt with years ago, but it no longer affects me in the same way. I mean, does that make sense, guys? Like, or is that like confusing? Yeah. Okay. Scott, for yourself, I mean, can you I look at you now and I'm like, wow, Scott is a powerful person. He's extremely aligned. He's confident. But can you think back to a time in your life when you had low self-esteem? I mean, you were doubting yourself and everything.
I mean, I can think back to many past times, and I can even look at some present time experiences. And the reality for me is I experience all of these emotional symptoms of low confidence whenever I set out to do something that I've never done before. But what's changed is my ability to actually look at my emotions and my thoughts associated with anxiety, fear, doubt, and uncertainty, and look at them for what they are. And then we're going to dive deeper into that rather than letting them completely control my world. Now, if I go back to like a specific experience in my life, I built my whole career around digital marketing for the first 5 years out of university. And I got to a point where I realized that was no longer aligned with what I truly wanted to be doing with my professional life. And that began to burble up so much unknown, so much uncertainty, so much, where is my path? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? What is the idea? And then when I finally landed on coaching, then like Hannah's experiencing the imposter syndrome, the fear of failure, the fear of other people judging me, all of these things started to come up for me. And I would say, well, I'm just not that confident. But the reality is all of these symptoms were bubbled into this one thing. We're going to talk today about some of the stuff that I implemented and our clients implement to build the confidence that's necessary to start taking actions aligned with things that they've never done before. But the reality is, again, for me, every time I set out to do something I've never done before, uncertainty comes in, the unknown comes in, is the next step actually going to be there for me? Or am I just going to step into a big hole? So,
Scott, can I add one thing to what you just said?
Absolutely.
You say, but even though I still go to do something new, uncertainty comes in. This is like one of the most important things that you can understand from the workshop, is that confidence is not a state of being devoid of uncertainty, right? That is to hope for that place is going to keep you in a perpetual state of unconfidence, because every time that uncertainty would come in, you'd go, oh, well, why is this showing up? I should be more confident. These are just thoughts and emotions. They're just normal, like they just are what they are, right? I have not met a single person in the world who's been able to find a way to eliminate emotions and thoughts. If they're out there, show me who that is, right? This is just a function of being a human being. I still experience uncertainty and doubt, etc. Confidence is going to come when you change your relationship to these things and really understand, one, where they come from, and two, what they are. So that I just really wanted to make that point clear here.
Boy, life devoid of thoughts and emotions would be one robotic, weird experience, would it not?
Well, that's what it's like to be dead.
Mike, why do we want to build more confidence, or a stable state of confidence, or build some understanding around how, as humans, we can become more observational of our thoughts and emotions instead of letting them completely control us?
Yeah. So confidence sounds like a shiny thing. Like I remember growing up and thinking that confidence was me picking up chicks at the bar, like, or being able to go up to a girl and just be like, hey, what's up? And, that's not real confidence. That's ego. Confidence is a necessary, internal skill if you want to be a couple things. One, if you want to be successful and what that means to you, right? If you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, then confidence is just the essential skill there. You'll find that every single dream or goal that you have in your life is going to require confidence. The absolute truth. You can think about that in any single domain in your life, whether it be relationships, career, money, anything that you want to achieve is going to really ultimately require confidence. Now, at Peak, we focus more on the work, of course, right? Helping people discover meaningful work and get paid to do it. That's going to require confidence from you. Most people think that, oh, my biggest obstacle is going to be lead generation or sales or business strategy. No, it's not going. If you've ever spent time trying to become an entrepreneur or do something big, you will find ultimately that your biggest roadblocks are fear, self-doubt, self-worth issues. It's always going to be an internal thing. Confusion. Oh, which path do I go? Those are internal confidence related problems. So once you're clear on who you are and where you're going in life, these external problems that you need to solve in terms of maybe like, again, I'm just throwing out some big ones here, marketing, sales, business strategy, those things are ultimately going to fall into place.
It's like when we get the internal organization of our mindset dialed in, the external stuff becomes a lot more simple to resolve. I hate the word easy, but it becomes more simple.
Right. That's a better word. And thank you for the correction there. But the reason most people don't double down on the internal confidence related stuff is because we're always operating in the visible world, like things that we can see, things that we can hear. We haven't been programmed to like go in and focus on the internal space and the confidence because we can't see it, right? We can't really see these things visibly. You can't hold confidence in your hand. So it almost feels out of reach or kind of, that's why people call this space like woo-woo. Right. So this is why we continue to just hammer the nail over and over and over again about doing the internal work.
So Mike, we call this workshop how to build unstoppable confidence, but I got to ask, dude, is it actually possible to build unstoppable confidence in a world filled with so much uncertainty?
100%. It is absolutely possible. And we have been, the reason why it feels impossible is because as human beings, we have been, you can use the word trained, programmed, whatever, into constantly a fixation on external things. Let's use the example of an entrepreneur who wants to make $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. All his focus is going on the money, on the external world, not his state of being, but on the external world. So true confidence is going to come. It's a state of being. It's just a place. It's not something that you craft in a way. It's not something that you like manipulate and, oh, I have confidence. The manipulation looks like me trying to go up to a girl in the bar and like, you know, say some like cute words or whatever. And like, she responds positively. And now I feel confident. Now that's coming from the ego. Confidence, again, is a state of being. It's a place of knowing and understanding. The reason most people do not have unstoppable confidence is because of the fixation on the external world. So let's use the example again. Entrepreneur wants to make 10K a month. He starts making sales. Oh my God, the business gets off the ground. He gets a couple sales. He or she gets a couple sales. What happens to that person's confidence? It skyrockets, right? Whoa, I'm making money. Oh my God, I feel incredible. I'm going out for like coffees and lunches now, and I'm just feeling like a baller. And the next month, the sales go down. What happens to that person's confidence? They get destroyed. How do I know this? This was me. Okay. This was me for an extremely, extremely long time. My confidence, I really started to build serious, powerful confidence when I saw this cycle happening repeatedly. Scott, me and you, right? We think about, we've had some tremendous months. We've also had struggles in Peak Prosper, right? This is the cycle of life. Sometimes we have up, sometimes we have down, right? This is nature. Sometimes it's sunny. The next day there's a thunderstorm. This is nature. It's always been that way. I've never seen anyone in any shape or domain go up and up and up forever, right? So we attribute all of our self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, accept happiness on all of these external things that are happening in the world. And when you do that, you create a state of attachment. And attachment is the belief that someone or something is going to be responsible for your happiness. It's the same thing of if people look at it in terms of a relationship where they're so attached to maybe their partner, and their partner says something that they don't like, their confidence goes down. Oh my God, now I'm doubting myself. The entrepreneur who he's trying to get his first client, he or she is trying to get his or her first client, and they get rejected 10 times in a row. And that rejection just crushes their self-esteem because they're attributing their self-worth to people saying yes to them. This is one of the most important things that you can take away from this. True confidence is never going to come from something external. I don't care if you make $1 million and you feel euphoric for a couple of years. If you feel euphoric because of the money, what's going to happen when it's taken away from you, right? True confidence is the ability to really look at yourself in the mirror and just understand completely that you are who you are. You know who you are. You know what you're uniquely good at. And despite things happening in the external world, which you cannot control, you've never been able to control it, right? Despite things happening in the external world, it's like, okay, this is happening, but ultimately, I know who I am. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm going.
Mike, we've been using sales and marketing and growing businesses a lot as examples today. And I don't know why, but the principle of regression to the mean keeps coming up for me. And anyone that's in business or has a career associated with sales, which is everyone on this planet, should probably understand what regression to the mean is, which basically means that you could have 10 or 20 or 30 sales calls or interviews or conversations with people, and they could all say no. But eventually, nature will say yes to you. I think back to an excerpt in a book that I was reading years ago about sales, and this lady, she kept at it. She kept showing up to sales calls. She got 90 no's. And then she got 10 back-to-back yeses. Yes, 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 wow. Yes, yes, yes. I think that was 10 yeses. But anyway, point being, look up regression to the mean. I think when you understand that principle, it will make some of these feelings of uncertainty and anxiety and fear and self-doubt that crop up in sales experiences easier to manage. Mike, we really focus on teaching principles that are proven at Peak Prosper, but if anyone was to go out and listen to podcasts or books or other gurus in a lot of instances in our space, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people talk about tactics, things that they think boost confidence, but ultimately they just bring like a temporary relief to anxiety, fear, doubts, etc. What are some of those, and why don't they really work for the long haul?
Exactly. So I'm not sure if my Wi-Fi is a little spotty, but we're going to run with it. If you think about the personal growth space, I would say that people who are really invested in the personal growth space and ultimately just like trying to be the best version of themselves say affirmations. And they don't work. Affirmations do not work. And we know this because when you go to say something that you're not, your mind says, bull crap, right? You know it. You hear that. When you go to say, like, let's say, for example, you're making $4,000 a month and you want to be making $10,000 a month. And you say, like, I am making $10,000 a month. Internally, you know that it's not there. There's some emotion that comes up. There's something that comes up. When you try to say things that you are not or that you don't have, it doesn't work. And another thing that doesn't work is listening to endless personal growth books and podcasts because of the intention behind it. Now, if the intention is for just understanding and wisdom and to deeply learn, then it's no problem. But if you're trying to like fix something, like you're trying to find the book or the podcast to do something, your mind knows. And this is something that we have to go back to principles. It's the same way of and I don't know why I'm using this example so much because I just think it's so good, but like the example of a guy trying to like get girls. I just think this analogy is so perfect for so many things.
Mike's trying to get a girlfriend. He's a single man.
Dude, no, the reason why I use this example, because I was so insecure in high school and college, so insecure. And I was trying all these things. I read all these books on like how to pick up chicks, like you got to talk this way, you got to use this opener, you got to use this closer, you got to like, you got to like talk to her, and then you kind of got to like show her like no interest. And those are all tactics and strategies. It was never and has never led to a fulfilling, thriving relationship with a woman, right? The only time that I've actually been able to deeply connect with women when I was just ultimately myself. And what does that mean? Ultimately being yourself, the principles of just clarity, vision around what I wanted, a state of being, like just being a genuine person, being able to communicate effectively and not just say games and tactics and strategies. These things don't work. Your mind knows. It knows when you're trying to like force it or craft it. And the reason we know this is true is because simply this: has it ever led to long-term transformational change? Okay. I was having a conversation with a buddy lately. He's obsessed in the personal growth space for 10 years, Scott. He's been in the personal growth space for 10 years, all the books, all the podcasts, you name it, workshops, this and that. I said, I won't say his name. Hey man, just a question for you. He goes, yeah. I said, have once in 10 years, have you ever, his biggest problem is negative thoughts. I said, have you ever been able to conquer your mind? And he said, no. That should tell you something really, really important about tactics and strategies versus principles.
Mike, I might need a mindset coaching session after today from you.
What's your call, dude?
Can you share some modern day social beliefs that are totally false, that erode our self-confidence as humans? And really, what's the root of low self-confidence? Where is this coming from?
All right, these are two questions. So the first question is like some of the beliefs that surround confidence, and people a lot of the times there's like an internal roadblock with being confident because people are told that it's been cocky. You grow up in like households where mom and dad are like, you never boast and you never do this, and you never talk about yourself, and hey, you don't do that, you never talk about yourself. And wow, like, I mean, like if and this is, I see a huge struggle for people when they're in a job that they hate and they're trying to shift into something that is in alignment with what they want. You have to talk about yourself. You have to. Like if Scott and I were not talking, not necessarily about ourselves, but in this workshop here, I'm talking about my story and how it's how these things have changed for me, and just some of the results that maybe I've helped people get, and et cetera. If I didn't do that, no one's going to be here. And maybe some people may be here, but they're going to tune out after 10 minutes. So we have these like internal roadblocks from stories that we've heard in the past. When people say things like, oh, you never talk about yourself, that's cocky and blah, 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 blah. That's not necessarily the truth. It's just someone's opinion that maybe you've heard enough and it becomes extremely convincing. So these are some of the things that we hear that is just, it's madness. And Scott, the second question that you asked was, how does one go about, like, what was the second question that you asked? I just wanted to hit that one first.
I think you hit on both of them, Mike. And can we get into some of the principles, some of the how do we actually build lasting confidence? And I guess, like at a very base level, where does somebody even begin to build their confidence up?
All right, let's really get into the meat of this, because we've given you, over the last 25 minutes of this workshop, we've given you some background. And now I really want to go into the how here. So you've got your notepad, just pay attention deeply to what I'm saying, because I really believe this has the power to change your life in such a significant way. So ultimately, if we look at confidence at a fundamental level, the reason one does not feel confidence is because of what's happening with their thoughts and feelings, right? I mentioned it to you earlier. There's an identification with your thoughts and feelings. Meaning you're believing that these things are you, okay? You're believing that the thoughts that you think and the feelings that you experience are ultimately you, and they're not you. They've never been you. The thoughts and feelings that you're experiencing is coming from your mind, okay? And all humans have a mind. Now, the reason why we know that if we look at the mind and we look at the thoughts and feelings that one experiences, it's completely based off the programming that you've experienced going up through your life. So if I look at Scott, I've shared some things with you, like very personal things over the last few years of struggles that I've dealt with, and vice versa. I don't experience the same problems as you do, right? You don't experience the same problems that I do. Why is that? We have a different programming. And the same thing goes with Jordan, Kira, Hannah, okay? We have all had different experiences. We grew up in different households. We grew up in different communities. So this programming that we've experienced in our life becomes extremely, extremely convincing over time. So for example, the person that I mentioned earlier who grew up in a household where someone says, hey, you never talk about yourself. Don't ever do that. And they get put down for it and criticized or punished by their parents. That's going to create an effect here where the next time that they go later in life to go do something that they want to do, like maybe talk about their business, they're not going to do it. They're going to feel feelings of guilt, shame, or low self-esteem. So fundamentally, we have to understand this first. Your thoughts and feelings are not you. They're coming from one's programming. Does that make sense? This is like a topic we've talked about before, but ultimately, does this make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes. Kira says yes. Jordan says yes. If anyone is confused about this before I move on, just drop it in the chat box, and I will double down on this. But this is an extremely, extremely important thing.
Mike, so you're starting to break down the principle of programming, right? Thoughts, feelings, and actions create our results, which is all driven by our programming. Now, if we know that our feelings are driven by the things that we're thinking, really, where are our thoughts and feelings coming from?
Yeah, they're coming from three different areas. They're coming from things that you've heard, right? Things that and I was mentioning that when your mom or your dad or whatever says something to you like, don't ever talk about yourself, or money's the root of all evil, or all these other crazy things that we hear. We also get them from modeling. So this is something that when you grew up, I grew up in like a kind of lower class family at first. We moved up to kind of more of like a middle class when my parents started making more money. Financial scarcity was a huge thing in our family. So my parents were always like, save, grind, work hard, save everything, going out for a meal. And you're like going into the restaurant and you're like calculating the tip, and, you're just like looking at the menu being like, oh, it's $17. I don't know if I'm just going to get the $12 dish. And, that had a huge effect on me. I saw that for, 20 plus years of my life. And that's taken me a long time to break out of that programming. We also go through one other type of programming that's called personal experiences. So this would be something that happened in your life that left a deep memory. For me, shattering my heel bone was a big one. It created a lot of fears. It created a lot of tensions and worries and anxieties that I ultimately had to work through. So these are where they come from. But I want to tell you this, because if we think about the programming of how you have gotten to this point in your life, the shift again is going to come when you realize that a thought or a feeling that you experience, no matter how convincing, is not you. Like, thoughts are normal. A lot of personal growth meditation, people are trying to shut off their mind. You can't do it. You cannot fight this thing, because every time that you do, you create something called negativity or positivity, right? So I want you to think about it like this. Thoughts are normal, right? Feeling emotions is normal. Thoughts that are negative or positive are subjective. Meaning, so if someone in this workshop, let's say Hannah, you have a thought that you say, oh, I don't like that thought. I try to push it away, or I try to do a meditation or do an affirmation. A thought that you believe is negative, that impacts you and makes you feel anxiety, I would laugh at, right? And vice versa. I have thoughts that I've identified as negative that if you experienced, you wouldn't think twice about it. So the reason that you continue to experience negative thoughts is because you identify them as negative. So you pick and choose. You have thoughts that come into your mind on a daily basis that you say, I like this thought. This is positive. No, I want more of that. And you have to understand that in doing so, in saying that these thoughts are positive, you give the lifeblood to the mind. The mind wants you to say, hey, this is positive and this is negative, right? And when that happens, when you do that, when you say positive thought, I want more of you, you're just going to create the very thing that you don't want, negative thoughts, right? This is so important to understand. Personal growth is constantly saying positivity. We want only good things. We want success. We want 10x. We want all of this. The more and more that you only want one type of reality, every time that you experience a negative thought or emotion, it destroys you. And then makes you question, oh, this isn't working, or I have to work harder. I have to meditate more. I have to read more personal growth books. You need to stop doing that. You need to stop doing that and understand the reason, the root cause as to why someone actually is feeling unconfident. And it's this reason right here. This has the power to ultimately change your life. Thoughts and emotions are not positive or negative. You decide that. And if you get to decide that and wait, hold on, none of this actually has any ultimate meaning because this isn't me. It's just coming from something I've experienced, heard, or saw. You can be free of it. And to be free of these things and not try to change the mind because you can't, you will ultimately get the byproduct. What is the byproduct? Unstoppable confidence. This is something that not many people are talking about. This has the power to completely, ultimately, radically change your mind, your internal world, and your career, relationships, money. I mean it. I'm so passionate about this topic. I could go on forever, but this is so important.
Mike, we can all hear it in your voice. And I think Hannah said it very well. This is gold, man. And what's coming up for me right now is I look at social media and everything that we're hearing in this world right now. And I really believe there's a happiness and positivity dilemma that's fueling an unhappiness pandemic. We think that we shouldn't have negative thoughts. We shouldn't have negative emotions. We shouldn't have low confidence. But the reality is this is just all part of our human experience, right? And today Mike is talking about something that I'm going to say over and over again, and he probably is too, that our programming is what's fueling this. Our programming that's conditioned from what we see, what we hear, and what we're modeling from our life experiences. So Mike, how do we actually change the program? How do we upgrade our mental software so that we can begin thinking and feeling and acting in alignment with the life that we actually desire to create?
Beautiful question, Scott. Beautiful question. The way to controlling your mind, I actually we should have created like a printout and printed this, what I'm going to say here. If guys write this down or remember it, etch it into your brain. The way to control your mind is by not fighting it. Okay. The way to control your mind is by not fighting it. Instead, this mind is a computer. The mind is a computer, right? And that's why we call it programming, because it's a script running on a computer in your head. Instead, what you want to do is, instead of fighting the computer, is just understand how it works and use it to your advantage. All right. So when you have a negative thought and you say an affirmation, no, you push the thought away and go, no, I am powerful. You're fighting the mind, and the mind knows it, right? And that's why it's going to continue to give you the same thought repeatedly. So I want to give this quick story, Scott, before I talk about how to reprogram the mind and actually use it to your advantage. The mind is like a dog, and Scott, we talked about this yesterday, but I really want to retell the story. The mind is like a dog, and you're the owner. And I want you to imagine that you're walking the dog to a dog park, right? You guys ever seen when someone's taking their dog for a walk and the dog is like so freaking out to like get like ahead, and it's like getting like choked by the dog collar because it's like, and like the person is like literally like getting dragged along the sidewalk. This is how most people are going through life, okay? With their mind being the dog and you just being attached on a leash, all right? Now, I want you to imagine getting to that dog park and the dog is just frothing to just get off the chain and just sprint around. There's actually a dog barking right now. It's on my house. And just get out in the dog park and like run around and like run up to other dogs, right? I want you to imagine that you go up to the leash, say, sit, stop, would you just stop? And you get that dog off the leash and the dog just takes off and you just go, oh God. And you're sitting there and you're just like, oh God, thank God. And you're just watching your dog just run around full speed, 100%. That's the place that you want to be with your mind, okay? You're seeing the way that it works. Observe it. Observe it in its natural state. Let it run. When the dog wants to run, let it run. When the dog wants to rest and take a nap, let it rest. When the dog wants fuel, give it fuel. But what is the fuel that we actually give it? In order for we say programming, it's your subconscious mind, right? In order for your ability to reprogram your subconscious mind is that it needs direction and emotion, right? So your mind is going to continue to focus on what you tell it to focus on. So this is why trying to directly change a negative thought doesn't work. When you experience a negative thought and you fight it and you try to change it, affirmation, push it down, or all the number of crazy things that we try to do, you're literally focusing on the very thing that you don't want. And what is the direct result of that? Anxiety. Guys, think of a negative thought that you don't like in your life and watch what the immediate reaction is. It's anxiety, it's fear, it's self-doubt. Let it be, just as it's always been a thought. It's always just been a thought, a cloud that comes and goes. Okay. So we need emotion and we need to give the mind direction. All right. Scott, do you have a question before I kind of go into okay, what are we talking about with direction? What are we talking about with emotion? Or just keep
flowing, man. Keep flowing.
Okay. So your subconscious mind, you give it a mission. All right. You give it a mission. And this is ultimately discovering what do you really want out of life. So in order to program the subconscious mind, you want to say, well, what do I ultimately want in life? And this isn't positive thinking. It's really just thinking about your being on a ship in the middle of the ocean and grabbing the wheel and saying, okay, this is where I want to go. So that the mind says, okay, this is where we're going, right? Most people are going through life with they're walking their dog and the dog you're attached on the leash and it's going nuts. This is why the mind is taking you all over the place. It's taking you to extreme highs and extreme lows, and emotional highs and emotional lows. We want to tell the mind, no, hold on, I'm going to separate from it. I know that you're separate from me, and figure out, hey, this is actually what I ultimately want out of life. This is the business that I want to start. This is the work that I want to be doing. This is the amount of money that I want to be making. This is what I want my relationships to look like. Okay. And as we begin to focus and program our subconscious mind on what we ultimately want, your mind has no other option than to do what its normal function is. Does that make sense, guys, at a high level? Like, is that confusing at all to anyone? Is that like, wait, I don't fully understand it? Just let me know if anyone's confused. Kira says thumbs up. Jordan, do you get that, man? Okay, cool. Anyone else? Hannah says yes. Cool. If anyone's confused here, let me know. So this is the second part of it. One, we give the subconscious mind a mission, and this is essentially you saying, "Hey, this is what I want out of life." Second thing is that it needs emotion. So if you think about negative thoughts, guys, you think about a negative thought or thoughts that you continually experience in your life, the reason you do, outside of the identification, we've talked about that, is the emotion. Thoughts that stay in your subconscious mind are ones that have an emotional connection to it. All right. This is why when you think back to your positive memories in life, right? If you go think back to just some amazing experience that you had, summoning a peak, getting your first client, meeting your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever. And when you think of that, you get the emotion from the experience, right? You get that euphoria, you get that high, you get that gratitude, whatever comes up for you. The reason why is because the only things that stay within your subconscious mind are the things that have an emotional connection. And the same goes for negative thoughts. And this is why we talk about the programming, things that you've seen, heard, and experienced. The reason these things feel so real to you and the thoughts feel so real is because of the emotion that you feel. The emotion is what gives thoughts lifeblood. Okay. So first, we give the mind a mission. Second thing here is that we want to get the emotional driver behind it. So in order for your subconscious mind to really hone in and focus, you have to ultimately discover why you want the thing that you say that you want. This is purpose, right? And the purpose is totally up to you. And we want to find an emotion that's supportive, right? We want to find something that really is like that burning desire. Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich. That burning desire for you to carry on despite challenges that you will invariably face. This is nature. Again, thunderstorms and rain, these things come, wind comes, it's okay. To drive us through challenging times. Most people are looking for motivation and discipline. No. Discipline is something that people do to force themselves to do something fundamentally that they don't want to do. You don't have to worry about discipline when you've ultimately discovered your burning desire of what do I really want out of life? What am I moving towards over the next few years? So subconscious mind, guys, we've gone all the way down the rabbit hole to get to this point. You need to have a very strong what am I focusing on, and why do I ultimately want it? And when you have those two things, yeah, you will be on your way. You will be on your way.
Mike, today's been absolutely gold, man. And if you wanted to share any last comments, please do. For those that are participating and showing up live today, if you want to connect with Mike and I one-on-one, whether you're in our 2.0 men's transformation program or not, please go ahead and book a call with us. We'd be so stoked to connect with you and help you dive deeper into your mindset and kind of where you're at regarding your confidence, and diving into some of the principles that we've talked about today. I think Mike's going to share a worksheet that he put together for today's workshop so that you can go and actually implement some of this stuff. And we'll revisit booking a call and share a link with you guys here in a couple of minutes. So Mike, go ahead and kick us off here with this worksheet.
Sweet. I created a worksheet for you, and just to like really walking you through kind of what I've talked about today, so that you can bring awareness to like what are these beliefs, what is the programming that's actually causing you to hit roadblocks. This is 4 questions, really powerful, really simple. Write down some desires that you have, up to 5 desires that you have. Now, for some of you guys that are in the program, you may have these things already on your MTV, or come up with new ones. If you're not, no worries. Write down some desires. Write down what you really believe about achieving them. So for example, let's say like, you have a desire around, I want to grow my business to 10K a month. All right. And then question 2 is, well, write down what you really believe about achieving these desires. And this is, don't BS yourself. Like, what do you really believe about making $10,000 a month? Oh, it's going to be XYZ. And I don't know if I can do this, whatever. Write down what you really believe. Now, from question 2, why do you believe these to be true? And this is going to bring up some stuff of, what are some things that you've heard? What are some things that you've experienced in life? Hey, this guy said this to me one time and I was destroyed, or my parents said that money is the root of all evil, or whatever. Write down why you believe these to be true. This is showing you the programming, okay? And so the power of that is to realize that it is not you. It's not you. It's just something from your past that you've experienced, you've heard, you've seen, okay? It's not you. It's never been you. Your mind is a liar, okay? Your mind is a really good liar. Lastly, I want you to write down how these beliefs are keeping you from achieving your dreams and goals. The reason why I asked this question here is because if you don't understand the consequence of how your beliefs are ultimately stopping you, no, it's not something external. It's not a lack of money. It's not that you don't have the right business partner. It's not that you don't have a clear business strategy. It's not that. It's because of this thing is keeping you from having clarity on that. It's always the mind. Write down how these things are impacting you. Like, how is it keeping you where you're at? The only reason that people change in life, why is it, Scott? What is the only reason that people ultimately change?
I don't know, Mike. Tell me.
Because something gets painful enough for someone. If you don't understand how something is keeping you inside of a prison, you're never going to break out. Okay. So guys, go through this worksheet. If you want to book a call with Scott and I, as you can tell, I'm fired up and I would love to help you work through some of this stuff. Regardless if you're in our program or not, I don't care. Book a call. We want to help. We want to help you achieve your dreams and goals. I'm going to drop this link right now in the chat box. So if you guys want this resource, go ahead. And that's all we got for today, guys. I'm happy to open this up for Q&A and hope you got tremendous benefit out of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom and gold today. And for those that are participating live, that worksheet just got dropped into the chat, and Mike will also put a link to our call booking page. Again, if you're in the program or you're not in our full program, please book a one-on-one call. We'd be happy to connect with you and just help you elevate your mindset. So happy to take some time for any questions that anybody might have. Either drop those in the chat or raise your hand on Zoom, and I'll just go ahead and unmute you guys. So yeah, we'll stick around for a little bit if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll call today a wrap.
Beautiful. Kira, thanks so much on the feedback on the podcast. Hope you've been digging it.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sweet. Happy days. Yeah, guys, does anyone have any questions? Like, do you need me to clarify anything? Is there anything you're kind of confused about? Or maybe you don't even, you're like, Mike, I kind of don't agree when you said this or that. I would love to just open the dialogue and yeah, and provide any additional insight.
Awesome. Yeah, guys. And if questions come up later today, or you have personal questions that you don't want to ask in the context of a group, please, by all means, schedule a one-on-one call with Mike or myself on the link that he dropped in the chat. And if you're listening to the recording because you didn't get a chance to show up today, there will be a link to both the worksheet, the confidence meditation that we talked about in the beginning of today's workshop, as well as a page to schedule a call with us. So stoked to see you guys all here, and thanks for joining. And if there's no questions, we'll just call today a wrap, and we'll see you in the next workshop.
Awesome. Sweet. Just drop the confidence meditation in there too, guys. So that's in there. You got the resource from the workshop, and if you want to book a call, you can. Otherwise, thank you so much for showing up. I had a blast.
Rock on. See you guys next time.
Cheers.